Well, hello everyone. How you guys doing? Hope you guys are having a great day. For those who are not aware, every Wednesday is Comic Book Wednesday, and I'm currently catching up on some of my runs right now, so I am going to get a little better with just getting that out there more on my channel because I do want to be consistent with comics, but I'm catching up. Right now I'm actually binging all of Invincible. That's what I'm currently doing. I started reading Berserk or Berserker. Sorry, that's anime. I'm trying to look around. Yeah, and I've also been reading a lot of mainline right now. I'm on the mainline Batman. It's pretty good if you guys haven't read that. I'm on a bunch of Image comics, so I would definitely tell people that where I'm sitting, I'm more of a DC guy. Image is probably like my number two. And then when it comes to Marvel, I actually love Marvel when it comes to like the characters and everything. Genuinely hate the company. I just genuinely they just have gone into a direction where I just hate it. And I'm just specifically we can rant about the movies all day, but I'm talking about the comics in this case. I mean, I don't hear anybody talking about what's the next hot Marvel thing at all. I don't hear when I go to I talk to my comic book retailer on a frequent basis. Like she's taking care of me and helping me get stuff, and I she tells me she's like people just don't get excited as much as they used to for Marvel, and that's just the sad truth. Marvel used to be like they brought people in, and then like things like DC, Image Comics, Mad Cave, IDW. I'm trying to go off the top of my head. What's the one that Mark Spears is on a lot? I'm trying to remember. What is it? Ani Press? One of the One Press, Ani Press. Don't know why I'm brain farting, but yeah, you get my point. Like Marvel brought everybody in, all the characters, and then yeah, everyone else. Hey, yeah, people always went in for Superman and Batman, but those even go through phases. Everyone went in for Marvel. Marvel was always like the go-to for everyone's comics. I remember everyone saying, "Oh, I'm a Marvel fan. I'm a Marvel this, I'm a Marvel that," and I'm like, bro, get over yourself. I love Marvel. I have like characters. I love Iron Man. I love Captain America. Punisher is a good favorite of mine. And they pretty much did a lot to kill the Punisher there. They sent him to like outer space or whatever. But now he's back. Now he's on a main line again, and they actually have to like make money again. So they're trying to go out there. So this is specifically is going to be talking about the comic book like writers and artists, which do have a lot of impact. And it's like Marvel's got honestly some great artists. I know John Romita Jr. is there, and he's a good artist. And I know the guy I'm brain farting on his name, but he did Amazing Spider-Man, the opening like the first 5 issues. I think his name was like Kelly or something like that. Last name I think the last name was like Kelly. He's another great artist. Marvel has a lot of good artists, but they don't like the writing's like like I like some of what Jonathan Hickman's done. I like the Avengers he's done, but that was a few years ago. I like the Fantastic Four run he did, but that was also a few a few years ago. I'm trying to remember because now I'm on the spot, so I'm trying to think about everything. But regardless, oh, Jed McKay, he's another one that I've read some of his stuff, and I believe Jed McKay's on the Moon Knight one right now, which the Moon Knight title has actually been pretty good. Like I've been reading Moon Knight. I just got back on the Iron Man because they restarted it. I did not like what they did before. I'm on the Captain America run because I know Captain America's like apparently setting up like the main universe when it comes to everything. So I kind of was like looking around. I try to pick like some of the the titles I like. Like I got Punisher, Moon Knight, Spider-Man because I'm technically on the Amazing run because I want to get the Libra Mayhew collection, so I have all of them because like I love his art. He's one of my favorite artists. But Image, man, Image has been cooking when it comes to like the books that have come out. Like I just went to the store and I picked up a Gork issue. Dude, that thing exploded to like $300 overnight. I blinked. I have like one or two issues of the first print of Gork, and then I have Orion Otley, like one of 25. And I bought that for like, I think it was like $25 just because my local store just didn't have enough issues. So I just went online and just bought it. But that was before like the blow up. Then the next day I look and everyone's like, oh yeah, the Ryan Otley one was going for like $300, $400. And then the cover A's were going for like $300 too. And I was like, holy crap. So yeah, comics is dealing with like a lot of issues, to be honest with you. But when we're talking about like what's going on, I think Marvel definitely not picking up their slack has hurt the market overall. Storytelling has been a little hit or miss lately too. Other than this absolute Batman run, like I wouldn't be reading like Wonder Woman. And I'm not even saying I mean, I know the Wonder Woman line's been like a little hit or miss over the last few years, more on the misses. Um, but I wouldn't be really reading like Wonder Woman right now as much as I would like to. I mean, I like her as a character. I just am not really on the main line too much. Like they say I'm on Aquaman main line because I love Aquaman. I've always been an Aquaman guy, so I like Aquaman. Um, I didn't get on the Flash or Batman, or sorry, I'm on Batman, the Flash or Green Lantern. I'm not on those yet, so I'm just gonna let those ride out. I mean, I heard Green Arrow was a pretty good story too, and I was actually gonna hop on that run, then I think they canceled it. So yeah, I don't really understand that decision. But hey, we're here, so let's get into the video. I ranted a little bit, about 5 minutes, about what my comic book stuff was. Well, and I'll probably add some little bit more as
And
the
there's
video
this
goes
great
on.
debate. What's more important, art or writers? And we've got Liefeld chiming in. It sounds like maybe Todd McFarlane chimed in. Kieran Gillen's, you are a parasite. Pictures up there talking about writers when it comes to artists, because he says artists are the most important. And we're just having this stupid conversation, this stupid debate.
Sick one.
Which could be important if things were going great, but things aren't going great. Here, let me break it down for you.
There you go.
Art is very important. Comic books are a visual medium. Writing is very important. You're also telling stories there. They inform the art itself. You can have good writing carry poor art, and you can have great art carry poor writing, but you can't have a great book without good writing and good art.
Well, yes. And to add a little point, like obviously, like when you're going around the comic book store, like when you're looking, like if you're not really paying attention to names, right? If you're just looking for a book, yeah, like the first thing that's going to catch your eye is the art, right? The art is going to grab you and bring you into the comic, and then when you open, you start reading, and then that's when the writing is supposed to then pick up, right? Like the writing is actually supposed to, take you along for the ride. Like that's the difference. And I felt like with Marvel specifically, DC went through the phase like usually like, and I'm not like guys, the average like comic book artist that they got in the industry, like even all the bullshit books I'm picking up, they're good. Most of these artists are actually like really good. For some reason, there's this big writing like boom, and I'm sure he's going to break into it a little bit more. Is it politics? Is it for financial reasons, or they're just not paying the right, the people, or is it just some people in the organization as a whole? Like, there's probably like one of the few reasons why we've seen a writing dip. Is there maybe just everyone's using ChatGPT? No longer any writers to write, right? Like, there's probably some different variables in this, but let's see.
Now, I will freely admit, when push comes to shove, the iconic moments in comic books are almost all going to be driven by the artist, sometimes being set up by the story presented by the writer and all that kind of stuff. But that moment where you get Bane breaking Batman's back in Nightfall,
it's the memory.
That's because the art was fucking amazing.
Well,
so if you want an iconic moment in a comic book, you're going to have a great artist. But we're going back and forth on this for days at a time about what's more important. They're both very, very important. Illustrating a comic book takes far more time than writing a comic book. I remember reading an interview with Jonathan Hickman. Seems like a meticulous guy, probably takes a little bit longer to write a comic book than most of his peers. And he says it takes him about 2 weeks to write a full comic book before he ships it off to the artist.
I mean, that's actually not that. I mean, for him, like Hickman's usually on like 15 different titles, so it's actually not that bad.
Now we know it takes most artists a full month to do one issue in a comic book, standard 24 pages. Now there are some artists out there like a Dan Mora currently that can do 2 comic books in a month. John Romita Jr. certainly in the day could do 2 comic books in a month. Mark Bagley could do 2 comic books in a month. Those are very few and far between. But then you've also got your Nick Kleins that needs to take 3 months to do 2 comic books, or even a Gary Frank, who's amazing, who might need 2 months to do 1 comic book. So there you go. That's the answer. They're both very, very important to comic books. With that out of the way, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on here. And I feel like we're at a moment where comic books needs to start taking the industry, the business of comic books seriously again. There are so many people out there that are just running cover and acting like, oh yeah, this is a boom period. We've never seen sales like this. Absolutely ridiculous stuff. And I understand that I come from a more cynical point of view than other channels or other people covering comic books. And I understand that you do need to have some cheerleaders to balance a guy like me out. But we don't need to lie. I was reading this interview with Chip Zdarsky recently where the interview.
He's on Captain America, for those who aren't aware. He also did he was on DC, I think, not that long ago. He did a Batman title. Apparently, his Batman run was like really bad. I personally didn't read it, but from what I've been told by some of the people who have read it, was not that good.
You were,
and I don't even think he's a fan of it.
Stated to Chip Zdarsky, and it has nothing to do with Chip, but this is what the guy said, that he didn't believe we should have sales charts in comic books because without sales charts, we've had 3 of the best years in the history of the direct market.
But I'm like,
saying that 3 of the last 5 years have been 3 of the best years in the history of the market. Absolutely insane. There is no way that could ever be true. That person is either A, lying, B, retarded, or more likely C, both.
I wasn't even, like I said, I wasn't even around for it, unfortunately, but in the 90s, I could just, from the hype, from the people, from everyone's told me, even you can look at the data, I remember, because I hear it, he's talked about it before on his channel. Comic books have always, like 10, 15, 20 years ago, like really, like I said, in the 90s, like, dude, they were selling, like those X-Men books were like cruising. Like now they hope to get like 40K on a monthly book, and like back in the day those things were easily cooking over 100K plus easy on most of their books. Like you got the mainline X-Men in the 90s, which is great era for X-Men, and then and it's like, yeah, I don't remember exactly. I've read some X-Men stuff in the 80s, but like I said, I haven't deep dived X-Men. X-Men's one I'm gonna have to really get on. But yeah, dude, those books back in the day were easily cruising over 150K, like monthly people buying this shit. Now it's like, yeah, they're hoping they're getting that. Now, I know the Absolute Batman, and I'm assuming he's going to maybe point it out, is that, yeah, the Absolute Batman stuff is doing great, and Ultimate Spider-Man did great. Outside of that, so, okay, outside of your new universes that you created designed to bring people in, what have you guys like what's been hitting? Marvel specifically, what's been hitting? You guys just had your One World Under Doom shit, and it's been honestly a joke. I was all excited to get in on it. I was looking forward to like getting some Doom. I was like, dude, we're getting Doom, like dog. He's coming. Like, I don't know. I was getting really excited when I heard about it because like haven't read a lot of Doom personally. So that's because I'm a newer reader when it comes to, especially when I'm comparing myself to him. Like, I'm a newer reader and I've only read a little bit of his stuff, but I was excited. I'm like, let's get some stuff going. And I liked Red Hulk. And I'm not dissing Red Hulk. I like Piercy. He's a really I like him as a writer. Most of the stuff he's done, like he did I think, what was it, Predator versus Spider-Man? Really good short story. I mean, I think there's only like 4 or 5 issues, but pretty good. I honestly I thought it was really good. And then I think it transitioned to then Alien, or was it Alien? No, it was Predator. It was the Predator, yeah. And then it transitioned to like Predator versus the Avengers or something like that. And he's done really good there. So yeah, there's a lot of like things like that happening.
There are less than half as many
but yes, they were selling over like 150, like easily.
Bookshops today than there were in 1994, 1995. How in the hell could we have 3 of the top 5 years ever in the history of the direct market when you have half as many stores? And a lot of those stores don't have the foot traffic that they used to have.
It's retail struggling hella now, especially. Well, I mean, okay, maybe with the sales of. I know a lot of people probably just buy them online. Like you buy either a comics online, you read comics, online. Like there's some, I know some stuff has like, I don't know. I think Marvel has their Marvel Unlimited like thing. So you're gonna go through there. You're buying your shit on like discount. Those are the ways people are doing it. Because, like, why would you go walk in? And this is the problem, right? Why would you go walk into a comic book retailer and say, I want to buy a hardcover and spend $50, $55? Like, You're not going to convince people. Like some are going to do. Like I like to do it. I'll try to buy like one or two books from them, and then maybe I'll buy the rest online just to save some money. Because I try to support. I really do try to support the local business, and like I love going into the comic book shop. I love talking to the people. We all share the hobby, right? We all like to collect. We all like to read comics and talk about them. So it's kind of cool when you. Like, it's kind of like it allows you to, oh hey, did you read what Batman's going on? Or hey, did you read about this title? Like, you know what I mean? Like, kind of cool to have some like, well, what's going on in the week? It's kind of different. So, then that's sad, and that's something that like online comic books retailers like Amazon and I'm trying to remember, there's like two or three websites that they do it. Like, yeah, dude, you can go on Amazon and buy like a fucking $50 book for $20. So yeah, half the comic book shops closed now. I couldn't even imagine back in the day when there was like 15 of them in just one block area.
Absolutely ridiculous. I understand that maybe we're measuring in dollar amounts here, but even if you break down like the sales that we do have, remember we got that Hollywood Reporter article stating, the Absolute Universe has done, 5 million comic books sold, since its launch, and I think Absolute Batman had done 3.2 million of them or something like that. And just looking at those numbers, certainly Absolute Batman was well over 100,000. But we do have to keep in mind that first issue has been reprinted, I think, over 10 times now.
Yeah, I think it's on its 11th.
And there's been lots of reprints of subsequent issues. So the first batch of Absolute
Yeah, so everything's getting picked up by variants too, right? Like, one comic book has 3 different variants, 4 different variants, plus an incentive variant. And with all the reprints, like, yeah, he's right. Because then, like, oh, then there's this one artist that did a cover for this, and it's like, of course, I love that artist, so I want to buy it, right? Like, I wasn't really picking up too many of them. Then I saw that Mark Spears did a cover, and I was like, oh, okay. And the second Ryan Otley does one like that too. Yep, thank you.
Batman books wouldn't have come close to that 200,000 number, but I am fairly certain that it's been above or right at 100,000 at least the entire time. When you go and you look at the other Absolute Universe books, Wonder Woman, Superman, Green Lantern, Flash, and you've got Martian Manhunter in there. Those are also dominating at the top of the sales charts.
All Absolute.
And when you averaged all that out with the amount of books that they'd put out, and there have been reprints of the first issues of those too, not quite as many as Absolute Batman, but certainly reprints in there, it averaged out, I think, to 82,000 per issue. It's probably closer to maybe like 75, maybe a little bit less than that on average per those issues. Those wouldn't have been top 5 books 5-6 years ago when we last had sales charts. Those wouldn't have been top 5
Really?
books.
It's been that long since they published sales charts? Already been 5 years? Because you know why? They used to be able to brag about that, and then when the numbers started, when they not look, because he hasn't actually. I'm surprised. We're already 5 minutes in. He hasn't mentioned the political shit yet about him. But yeah, when they started like going more towards like appeasing like less of the readers, then yeah, the numbers started dropping insanely. Like Marvel doesn't understand, DC doesn't understand that. Like, well, DC does a little bit more than Marvel, but genuinely, you get a guy who's like one of the. If you can get Jonathan Hickman and tell him to, like, because he's a great writer. So get him, bring him in. Yeah, I know people don't like how he doesn't, like, finish out his projects. No, dude, you're finishing out this one. You're going to do every single one. Give us, like, 60 issues of, like, whatever run, whatever character. Just give us a 60-issue one. And, like, I'm telling you, you get him, pair him up with a good artist. Dude, you're going to commit to the project. Tell them you're going to do 60 issues. And this is what it's going to be. You'll see the numbers drop up or go up. Like people want it, if that makes sense. Like people want to read this good shit, but no one trusts your artists. No one trusts the writers really, in my opinion. I think that's where more it is. Like you used to be able to go walk around and pick up whatever the fuck you want, but now you have to go, I don't really know about this.
And I'm certain that DCKO is doing pretty good right now. It looks like it's right there behind Absolute Batman, but there's no way in hell it's doing Marvel Civil War fucking numbers. Where what is that, over 200,000 an issue?
Is that Mark Miller?
We're nowhere close to these numbers, but there's somebody out there that's in the know and is supposedly, spreading the truth about comic books. That's just flat out lying. Maybe if you wanted to squint your eyes, turn your head, and go, let's start talking about the direct market and cumulative sales, including all their board games and action figures and other things that they've had to incorporate into their shops to stay afloat, maybe then we can go bigger because those things are selling better. But that's a lie. What we are being fed a whole lie. And people in the comic book industry, they're so protective of each other. We got to protect the shield or something like that. We can't be honest about what's going on. Is there a hot series out there? Absolute Batman is absolutely the top dog. It's the rule. It's ruling the roost,
the best.
as my grandma would have said, my late grandmother. The other Absolute books, in comparison to everything else, are slaughtering the rest of the line, including all the DC books. And DC is doing better than Marvel now. They got the market share, and I think they deserved it because they've been doing.
Marvel, like, guys, Marvel's been atrocious. And the sad part is, I don't want to even make everything and everything about politics. It's not always about politics. But the issue is that you have these people who are writing, and they literally cannot, like, they just cannot separate the character from their ideology. Like, they just can't. So instead of them writing true to the character, they're going to write what they feel like the character should be. Right? That's what really annoys me. Because, like, back in the day, you know, I remember oh, why am I brain farting on it? Jim, not Henson. Fuck, what's his name? Jim Shooter. Shooter. I almost said Schuster. No, I remember there was an interview of him literally saying, like, you know, keep true to the comic. Like, there's like an interview he kind of gave, like, it looked like it was at a Comic-Con and someone just asked him point blank. And he was like, pretty much exactly what I said. Just like, keep the bullshit out of the comics. Keep the comics true to the comics. Yes, comics have always had, like, some social shit, but keep it true to what it is, right? Like, that's what it was. Because, like, dude, you had Captain America fighting Nazis, right? So no one's going to say that, like, there wasn't a time period where, like, I believe the Punisher, technically, like, before they retconned it, I believe he started off in Vietnam, right? He served in Vietnam. So, like, there was always something with, like, what's going on in the outside world that was in the comics. But it never, like, took away from the character, right? Like, they never were just like, all right, we need a gay character, so Tim Drake, you've been selected. Right? Like, you had this established character, and then you just randomly, let's just make him gay out of nowhere. Or just killing off characters and then replacing them with DEI characters that people don't really care about. So it's kind of like this endless, like, changing of characters, recycling of events, and man, it's just like this. It's like there's nothing new. There's nothing fresh. There's nothing like, whoa, Marvel, brand new character. Like, this is like, guys don't want to do that anymore. Writers don't want to come up with their best stuff because they don't own it. And I think that Marvel and DC need to eventually get back to a point where if you guys want to see new creative things, you guys should probably allow, like, your artists or your writers to, like, have some ownership of things that they create. Because they do and they don't. Like, obviously no one owns Batman, and, you know, other than DC. Like, that's their character. But you guys should go in there and go, you know what? You guys create a brand new superhero. We share the rights. Like, you can't go take this character and, like, move it around. Like, you can't go take it into Image. It's our character. Like, it always stays with DC. But you get, like, you know, revenue. Like, every time, you know, someone buys a comic, we'll give you, like, a slice of the pie. Right? Because that's what DC had to do. Like, when Bob Kane owned Batman, like, he truly owned it, he had, like, the power to do, you know, final say on whatever. Like, he didn't like something? No, it ain't happening. You want to do this? It's happening because he owns the character. But not all those guys, you know, DC also screwed over the original guy who wrote, I think it was Jerry something, starts with an S, Spielberg? I almost said Spielberg. Whatever his, you know, name is. I'm not trying to be disrespectful right now. But the creator of Superman, he got screwed over. I believe he died like a broke man. So, yeah, like, why would you come up? Like, that's the guy who came up with Superman, right? And if the guy came up with Superman died a broke man, Jack Kirby had to fight for his rights of his stuff. So it's like, yeah, like, I worked for Marvel back in the day when I created something. Like, if I was, like, you know, in the Jack Kirby situation. Like, dude, you own those characters. You're getting revenue from those characters. Of course, you're going to put out the best stories and put out the best work. And that's why things like Image have done so well. Because Image, you own your work. This is yours. It's just on our branding. And we all make money on it, right? But this is your thing. And why do you think you got these like guys who write for DC, write for Marvel, half-ass it, and then they go to Image and then they write the best work they've ever done because it's truly theirs. That's something that DC, Marvel, whoever, they need to figure that out. The bigger companies, they need to really figure that out. In my opinion, give some rights back to the writers, and you'll be surprised when they actually like have a little investment into your brand. You'll see the work pay off, and also go after it and find quality writers. Don't just get every random slop that you just find, or someone who's been there on average they last 5 books, and then you just keep them there. Like no, if this writer is not working, can them move on to the next, right? It ain't that hard. Why it's become that hard, I don't know.
Doing far better than Marvel for at least 2 years, probably closer to three, just when it comes to quality on issues. It's really hard to find a good ongoing Marvel comic title. There's only a
I
handful
agree.
of out there. Spider-Man and Wolverine is about to be canceled.
That
I think
was a
there's
good
one issue
one. I
left.
enjoyed
We've got
that.
Infernal Hulk, a couple issues into it. It's pretty fun.
I like Infernal Hulk too.
And then it's mostly miniseries that people are enjoying. It's Alien Captain America. It's
Yep.
that Punisher Red Band that's already
Punisher
in
Red
it.
Band was good.
Marvel is doing absolutely atrocious, but we're not able to discuss these things and act like there's a problem. There's a lot of weird stuff going on right now at Marvel Comics.
Don't even look at the X-Men line. Guys, if you like are a historic X-Men fan, please do not even look at them. It is like I've had genuine like I wanted to pick up Wolverine, didn't get too excited when I started looking at it. I was able to, like she said, found a good little medium between Wolverine and Spider-Man. And I was like, oh, that's actually not a bad book. I just wish they were like, oh, good book, sales. Let's extend it. No, not at Marvel or DC.
It's
I
been
guess
over,
DC's
I think,
changing
15
it
years since they were acquired by
Absolute
Disney.
Run, but
And you're like, oh, all the stuff should be over, all the transitions and everything. No, there's a final transition to make. And that's for Marvel Comics Publishing to go under Disney Publishing and no longer be its own entity. And as far as I understand, the way I understand it is that is happening finally.
really?
Now, will it happen, next week? I don't think so. But within the next 12 to 18 months, Marvel Comics should be under Disney Publishing. And I believe the way I understand it as well is that Dan Buckley, the current president of Marvel, will no longer have a job because that position will be filled by the Disney publishing president. They'll all fall under that umbrella. So there's a lot of uncertainty going on.
I have an issue with this because the way the current market of comics is set up, like, yeah, it's hard for comics like DC and Marvel to be standalone without having a bigger fish funding them. It is. The way the profit margins are, like, it's hard for those two to be a standalone. But when they were at least, like, I guess, a bigger fish that was in the portfolio, there was at least a more of a respect to, like, let them do their thing. But because of the last, like, 10 years of bad faith management, absolutely destroying your fan base's respect for your brand, have done anything and everything to change beloved characters and things that happened in the past and retcon, and then like every other weekend there's a new retcon. So there's no, like, you guys have done everything to hurt the will with the fans, and you're on top of it. Like, fine, you can complain about the Marvel, comic run, but at least the movies at that time were, everything was cooking. Like, it got to the point where I remember this was such a normal thought, and it's like so crazy now for me to think about that, where almost every movie I like walked into for Marvel, everything from Endgame and earlier, so pre-COVID, I was like, oh, this is going to be a good movie. Or I had confidence that I was going to, like, somewhat enjoy the movie. But now, I walk into I've seen every Marvel movie pretty much that's come out. Like, I think I have seen almost every single one. Almost all of them. Like, Captain America, like, surprisingly, I didn't hate it as much as I thought I was going to hate it. Like, I kind of liked it in some parts. I actually kind of liked Thunderbolts, surprisingly. Like, I thought it was pretty good. Or, sorry, New Avengers, because they did the whole rebrand, which I don't even know what's going to happen with that in the movie. See, like, do you see? Like, so they went down this road, and then they can't use Kang, and then they going through all the different rebranding and stuff with that. It's like, what direction are they even going in? So you got the DC, or you got the Marvel movie side that's a total joke, and they're not even organized. Everyone's like, "Oh, Kevin Feige, don't bet against Kevin Feige," and like, yeah, the maybe Avengers Doomsday is gonna end up being a good movie, right? Like, who knows? At the same time, you guys gotta fucking figure it out. Like, you just do. Like, your movies are a joke. Your main line sucks. Most of what you guys have the most published books monthly, and yet they ain't selling. Same slop writers, same slop that we're getting, nothing changing. Like, you guys had to bring back the Punisher. You didn't want to. Those people there, like he's talking about, they didn't want to. And yes, like, I now you're getting bought out, or sorry, now they're shifting the company to more under Disney Publishing. You're done. And I'm hoping that at Disney Publishing, they're going to look at what's going on in the titles and goes, we got to do some changes. Like, I hope someone there knows what they're doing. I hope they don't just, take it and make it more kid-like. Like, then, comics is already, like, superheroes are already to an extent for kids. But you still want to have, like, a broad audience of what you can get, reach to. And I do kind of wish comics did have more of an adult, like, respect to the adult audience, still understand that kids are going to buy it. I hope that makes sense. Because, like, kids want to read, like, what the adults and the older kids are reading, right? Like, that's just natural how that works. And then you got DC getting, chopped up into the Paramount empire. Warner Bros. Getting bought out recently. So now, like, both of these companies have they just, they're just a little fish in a bigger pool. Marvel, I guess, to be fair to Disney, because that's really been a lot of their movie success over the last 10 years, maybe be a little bit more on the priority. But it is interesting that from the publishing perspective, they're already canceling ship. Because you guys tried it for 10 years and it wasn't working. You tried your little political game and you thought you were going somewhere. It just wasn't working.
On at Marvel Comics, they're probably going to be getting a new EIC within the next 12 to 18 months as well. CB Cebulski's been in that position for about 7 years. I think a little over that. That's about normally the amount of time that an EIC gets at Marvel Comics. So there's a lot of uncertainty. It's not going very well. There's no real direction for Marvel Comics to actually start competing with DC Comics.
No.
It's actually really bad. But if you go over there and look at DC, Netflix, at least it appears, is going to be acquiring Warner Brothers Discovery. DC Comics is a part of Warner Brothers Discovery.
It's Paramount. This is an older video, but it's Paramount. That's been confirmed. Netflix backed out.
Netflix is a digital entertainment platform. DC Comics is mostly a print entertainment platform. Doesn't exactly fit in with Netflix's modus operandi when it comes to delivering entertainment. That's going to be a weird fit. What are they going to do? People should be very, very, very desperate. And there are a few people that are desperate right now in comic books. I don't think, and I don't know this because I talked to Scott Snyder behind the scenes or anything, but I am aware of when the Absolute Universe and Absolute Batman was pitched and originated, it was years upon years ago. But I think that the reason Scott Snyder is doing Absolute Batman is because he was desperate. Like, he needed another hit. He hadn't reached the heights that he had during his first Batman run, which were very, very high. Great stuff, Court of Owls. He had some success, obviously, with Dark Knight's Metal, which was a very successful event. He had some pretty decent success on his Justice League run, but not anything like he did at Batman. Then he had Dark Knight's Death Metal, which is like his last hurrah at DC Comics. Didn't go well. Sales weren't terrible, but it's not a good event. And he went to the indie scene, to go show that this, Scott Snyder brand really had some juice to it. And it turns out it didn't. The sales really weren't there. He wasn't losing money hand over fist, but he wasn't out there being Robert Kirkman on the indie scene. And he was desperate, in my opinion, to have a hit again that was as big as his original Batman run. And he went out there, he went back to DC Comics. He pushed this idea that he had come up with, 5 years prior to that. They finally said, you know what? We're desperate enough because things aren't going out well right now. Let's do this idea and see if we can make it happen. And it's been very, very successful because he was desperate for success. It had to be successful. And he came up with an idea, and obviously it's worked. Now,
I I don't. Yeah, maybe like you could argue that it was a little desperate. I don't even think you're wrong from that. Like he obviously needed a hit. I do like what he's been doing a lot, and even that it's an older pitch or whatever. Look, the way he's been writing it issue by issue, it's been some of the most entertaining comic that I've read in the last at least few years. So now, like, I don't remember like when I was this excited. I go, oh, the next issue's coming out. Ooh, this is coming out. Ooh, this is coming out. Like, like I didn't have that feeling beforehand. Now I do, and I mean, I I love it. Like it's. I'm happy that he's doing a good job. I'm not gonna like talk about any of like the outside stuff when you guys can go read his Twitter if you want to know that. But look, when it comes to his work as a writer, like, look, I have a lot of respect for the guy. I think he does a really good job at what he does. I actually have one of I believe it was his Detective Comics run, which is a really good one. I have the little trade paperback over there, and like I said, I like what he's done. I really am a fan of the Absolute Batman run. I loved all the different interpretations of the characters and the little twists here or there. And look, he's committed to the project, and I'm happy that a guy is finally like, let's get 60. I think he said like we're going like 60 issues, like we're regardless. So that's kind of refreshing to see, and I hope that Scott like sets the new bar of, or I guess bring the bar back to what the standard should be in the industry. Like I remember he tweeted out one time something about increasing the page count too in in the Bane issue because like they couldn't quite fit the fight scene in like the 22 page count or whatever. So DC gave them special permission to extend it. I hate the idea of that. That there's like a limit. Like you only have this many pages to get a story in. No, no, set that as the minimum. Minimum 22. In my opinion, minimum 30. You should expect anywhere from 30 to 40 pages. Like when I go up, especially that the fact that I'm spending $5 now. So if I was spending $2, $3 and I'm picking up like a fucking 20 something page book, I'm going to bitch less. But now you're charging me like at one time, if we're breaking it down like crazy amount, dude, you could have gotten like what 4, 8, 12, 16 relatively books. If we're talking 25 cents a book at the one time, and then you want to talk about, or was it 25? And you want to talk about $1, then I was like, that's five books, and then when it was $2, I'm getting two books. So, like you just lowered my how many books I can pick up. So you guys have given me less wiggle. You've given yourself less wiggle room to say that like, like instead of me going, I'm paying $1 or two for a book. I don't really care if it's the greatest writer or the greatest artist. If I enjoy it enough, I'll just still buy it. Well, you're gonna get less of those because people are like, well, no, look, $5 a book, and if it ain't hitting by after 2 or 3, I'm done. I'm dropping it, right? I try to at least give it, if it goes 10, I try to give it to like 10 issues minimum. That's what I try to go for. Let me get 10 issues in, see if the story really starts developing, and then if I don't like it, there's only been like one or two times recently that I've been like, I picked up a book and I went 1 to 2, maybe 3, and I was like, I'm done. I try to give it a little bit.
now, is it the world's greatest idea? I don't think so. I think it's fine. I enjoy Absolute Batman. I think Absolute Wonder Woman's a better book, but most of the other Absolute books, I don't particularly enjoy. I don't think they're very good. But it doesn't matter what I think because they're enormous hits, right? But that's what desperation can do. It can drive somebody to really be successful. And nobody outside of Scott right now is really acting desperate. Well, I guess IDW is. Did you see what they're doing?
Mm-mm.
They're so desperate, they're not even giving creators any IP credit on new ideas at IDW. They're not just going to be a licensed comic book company anymore. They want new original IP so they can develop it into movies and TV and all that kind of stuff. But they're not going to have the Image deal where the creator owns the rights because it's their idea.
And they're wrong for that. They should know that, especially being a smaller company. Now, I'm happy though that IDW's like, we want new original things. Great. Good. But you gotta work with the writers and artists a little bit now, okay? Show them some love. Come on, guys, you should know better.
Who's going to come up with these ideas?
Exactly. We talked
Heather
about this
Ontos?
literally earlier.
Is this going to be the Heather Ontos fucking IP factory now? Like, who do you have that's even creative enough to come up with original ideas to where you could go out there and lowball people and give them peanuts to write these new ideas and then give them nothing but some really shitty royalties that they'll likely never achieve because IDW is not a popular comic book brand. It's crazy, but that is desperation. But that's the worst kind of desperation. That's desperation, hoping, praying that maybe if you write enough stories, one of them will be successful. That's basically what they're doing. And that's not the kind of desperation that's going to be good for comic books. But they're really the only people out there besides Scott and what he's done on Absolute Universe that feels like they're operating out of desperation. We need a hit. We need something to work here. And I don't think it's going to work out for IDW the way that it has for Scott Snyder and DC Comics. Marvel is just continuously rebooting everything.
It is a lot.
They just rebooted their X-Men line a second time with all the same creators almost, except for Tim Seeley being added to the mix. Well, I guess and Ben Percy. Does that sound like the X-Men are a hot franchise? Did you talk about Age of Revelation? No.
I bought like the first one, and apparently they already canceled it.
Of course you didn't. Nobody did, because it sucked. Did you talk about One World Under Doom? There was a time when Marvel events, even if they weren't good, even if people thought they actively sucked, would hit numbers like 170,000, 180,000. This isn't, in the fucking mid-90s when there were twice as many comic book shops. This is just, 8-9 years ago.
Oh, wow.
They're nowhere near those kind of numbers. People don't even pay attention through their events anymore. Until everybody gets together and all the adults in the room and maybe Todd McFarlane and Rob Liefeld stop wondering or pushing that comic art is what drives sales, or Jimmy Palmiotti isn't going, no, but it's comic writing that drives sales. How about we all just admit nothing's driving sales right now outside of Absolute Universe and a few select titles, maybe the Energon Universe, which is doing good for indie work, if you want to call indie. Those are franchises that people are very aware of. Billion-dollar movie franchises if you talk about Transformers. But how about we get all these people that are bickering and arguing amongst each other and throwing up the Kieran Gillen, you are a parasite fucking thing to the writers out there, emphasizing how important artists are. Stop talking about that bullshit and actually start talking about what's happening, how things aren't going very well. And this industry that you love, that made you who you are, needs something right now. It needs an energy. It needs a buzz. It needs the adults coming back into the room and showing a lot of these young creators the way to actually do it, how to create buzz, how to create characters, how to create stories that are...
Stop doing the dumbest shit to the dumbest character. You just like I don't want to rehash every point that I made earlier. So like we already know what they've done, but he's 1000% right. Like we need someone to be in the room and go, guys, this ain't working. We got to do something different. Like, we can't sit there and go down this left-wing bullshit rabbit hole. That's why everyone's afraid at Paramount, or, sorry, at DC Comics. Because, they all hear that the Ellison name is now the owners of everything. And I don't know how much they feel comfortable with wanting to work under these people that they think they're the Trump supporters and everything like that. So I don't know how many of those writers and artists even stay at DC because of that. Like, you don't know what can happen.
Evergreen that in 20 years people still want to read, because we aren't getting that. And that ultimately, besides just the corporate swallowing up of comic book publishers, the major ones, will be the death of comic books. Will comic books ever just kind of go away? Absolutely not. People will be out there crowdfunding. We'll still have manga, which is a much bigger industry than American comic books right now. And even if, Netflix shuts down DC Comics Publishing, they'll license it out, but it is getting smaller. There's a little bit of momentum right now. People are talking, not nearly as much as I think people would like to pretend they're talking about Absolute Universe, but at least there's some positive buzz out there and there's something to work with. But to this point, all that magic with the Absolute Universe, which is absolutely dwarfing everything else in sales, has only been beneficial to the Absolute Universe. In 2 years, when this thing finally starts winding down and it's not as popular as it once was, you don't want to be the guy sitting there with your dick in your hand going, wow, what a wasted opportunity. You don't want to be Marvel Comics. Now that the MCU shine is worn off and the luster is not there, and nobody's really talking about Marvel characters, being going, holy crap, we completely missed the boat on what should have been the most important 12 years in the history of Marvel Comics, trying to tell our comic book audience, our customers, that they were bigots and hateful and all this kind of stuff. We totally fucked that up. I guarantee you that's what they're doing right now. And if you do get to talk to people at Marvel Comics, off the record, behind the scenes kind of thing, they won't freely admit it, but they will eventually admit that things are not very good right now. And they're not very hopeful. There's really nothing that they see that they can do to fix these things. And it's not much better at DC. It's certainly better, but not that much better. So I think,
Well, they know what to do. They know what they need to fix. They just choose not to do it. And they were like, you got people on Blue Sky and everything freaking out over this crap. But it's like, yeah, for the last 10 to 15 years, you guys on Blue Sky have had DC Comics do whatever you guys wanted to do. Like, and I'm not even trying to say the left moves so far to the left that the center looks like not even a thing anymore for them. But you guys have brought the characters and everything you wanted to do so far. You guys did it your way for so long. No one bought it. No one likes it. No one gives a shit. And now you guys are all putting your hands up like, what the fuck? How does this happen? How does no one fucking like us now? Like, how does no one like our stories? How does no one buy it? Hmm. It's like almost like you guys went back to what was working and actually make stories for the stories, not for what you guys are personally feeling inside and turning out whatever weird kink you want onto a character. Like, who's the guy that gave fucking what Spider? The guy that the writer that wrote. I don't know if it was the guy that did what am I brain farting? Brand new, was it Brand New Day? Yeah, when he totally home wrecked and fucking ruined Spider-Man. I don't know if it was that guy or if it was another guy that had like a foot fetish and he like gave Spider-Man that like similar thing.
it's time for people that love this industry to get together and have some real conversations about how to stop the bleeding and start getting some expansion out there. Or what's the next evolution of comic books? Is it going digital? Is it going to the tankobon size with full stories out rather than floppy issues? There's got to be a different future than what we're at, because what we are at right now is controlled collapse. And I 100% believe that that is what's going on right now. Of course, this isn't just limited to comic books themselves. It's American pop culture that's really dying. And I think comic books are a great example of how that's happening. I really fleshed that out a while ago. If you haven't seen this video about American pop culture and how comic books are the ultimate example of how this is all going, definitely check this out right now. I appreciate the time. And remember to keep thinking critical.
I don't know if the solution is going to be shifting online or like, completely just saying we're no longer printing. People like to collect. People like to walk in and pick up a comic book. I at least like to walk in and just browse sometimes and pick one up. I like to have the community space of it. So that would be something that's sad if comic books were to go directly online. Because, like, you when you walk in, especially on a comic book Wednesday, you got everyone and their mothers walking in there, picking up whatever they need to pick up. And it's cool having that. It's like there's not many industries and hobbies we have left that are really primarily like based on physical sales. And it's honestly kind of refreshing. I don't want everything, and I hate how everything's gone digital. Like, I don't mind having something physical in my hand that I can hold and appreciate. Or, I read it, I can look at the art. If I want to throw it away, I can throw it away. If I want to use it as a fucking, coffee, thing, I can use it for that. I don't know. I don't know if that's ever going to go away, the physical media. I can maybe see them offering like more digital options, like to some degree. But there's already like a lot of the digital is already set up. Like Marvel at least has that set up. Like maybe Marvel would start releasing them more on like an actual monthly basis. Like I know it's like, oh, for newer stuff, it comes out like every a little bit after. So maybe if they start doing that more, then you would see a difference. But yeah, no, in my opinion, it's just purely that comic book writers and artists and everything like that. They don't, well, not the artists. It's more the comic book writers. They're just too busy writing about their ideology and not about what actually makes, what's the character, what's actually working and stuff. So, yeah, I honestly thought he had thinking critical here had a lot of fair points, and I know some of the people in the comic book industry they don't like him for whatever reason, but overall, I thought he brought up a lot of great points, to be honest with you. So definitely give him a subscribe if you guys haven't seen him. If you guys like the comic book content, you want to even see more of it, or you guys actually want to see, I'm all down. If people actually like respond in the comments, like I know they do and they don't, depending on what the video is. Like there's actually people like that that tell me what stuff they're picking up on. I actually like to read that. All right, like know what you guys are picking up. So please tell me if you're watching this video today on Wednesday, or well, technically today's Tuesday, but if you're watching it on a Wednesday, please let me know what stuff you picked up. I'm curious if you guys, what you guys have. So, yeah, good video, good stuff. Got nothing else to say on it. I'm sure we can find other things to say on it. We'd be rambling here all night. So, all right, guys, appreciate it. Have a good one. Be safe. Don't do anything stupid. Peace out.